never get another chance to catch this. In case you're wondering who's the realest, the name of the winner.
The Dream 3 podcast back in your life. We haven't been here since Thanksgiving. We've got a lot to talk about, from World Cup to football to how trash basketball is. Let's get into it. Well, we're back. We haven't been around since Thanksgiving. It's been almost a month. Life happens, but we're back on the podcast. We got a lot to talk about. Definitely starting off with the World Cup. You, me, and Josh have been texting back and forth, really following the World Cup, betting on the World Cup, and you can't tell me that finals game was not one of the best soccer matches of all time.
I think we're all a little like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but we're definitely spoiled in the fact that was a World Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
So if you never watch any of the World Cup and you watch that match, that's not exactly how soccer works. That is absolutely the peak of soccer. That was unreal game. Like, we're talking like the equivalent of like Texas versus USC Rose Bowl type game.
And especially with the two biggest stars on each team having such a game that they did. Messi with 2 goals, Mbappe with the hat trick, going to PKs, which I was texting Craig on the side, like, because I was also trying to make bets during the game. So funny enough, I had a bet originally going into the game, both teams to score, both Messi and Mbappe to have a shot on goal, and Argentina winning. So we get down to, close to the 90th minute, or let's say probably the 80th minute. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. It's getting close. And then when Mbappe hit that goal to tie it up, automatically cashed out, took the cash out, and went to straight back in to bet it. So I started texting Craig on the side. I was like, hey, do you think this game's going to go to penalty kicks? Because there was a bet that the game would go to penalty kicks. It was like plus 130. And he goes, no, it'll get over in overtime. And sure enough, it goes to penalty kicks. But man, like you said, we were definitely spoiled watching that match. Because most soccer games are definitely not like that. But if you saw that, one of the greatest soccer matches of all time, and for Messi to go out on top, be better than Ronaldo.
I think that's probably something that kind of has not necessarily got swept under the rug, but kind of like the solidification of Messi at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're talking like, okay, well, now is it Messi and Pele? And that's a question that I think is very, very tough to answer. But you look at everything that Messi's accomplished. I mean, at least in this generation, or at least since Pele, he has been the greatest of all time.
Yeah. And
I hate to say that because, like, I grew up watching Ronaldo and hating Messi, but I respect Messi for what he truly is. I mean, he's the best in this generation, and he proved it. He finally won his World Cup. It's the culmination of everything. Now he can just come to the MLS and just beat the crap out of all of our teams.
Yeah, because he's gonna sign with FC Miami, correct?
I think that's what I've heard is the rumor he might sign.
So what's really funny about we've been talking about World Cup for basically this entire year, and it comes down to probably the 2 biggest card holder values going into the World Cup. And we've spent plenty of time talking about the Kai Havertz, the USA guys, the Christian Pulisic's, the Harry Kanes, stuff like that. And when
Makoku,
Mako-
Lukaku, De
which
Bruyne,
which we didn't really.
Neymar.
I mean, yeah, and we didn't really think that coming down to it, the two biggest, two out of the three guys of the big time names, and even Ronaldo was up there for
Yeah.
a long time, and he was making plays. But to come down to it, have an Mbappe versus Messi. So if you were heavily in on Mbappe or Messi, you had probably a pretty good payday. As I was telling you off camera, that I bought one for me and I bought one for Josh because it was a smoking deal. A couple months before World Cup happened, had a base prism, 2018 base prism World Cup Mbappe. So the Mbappe rookie World Cup PSA 10s. He was selling them at, I think it was 165 a piece. And to me, that was a smoking deal. So bought both of them. Josh ended up buying them, and then as soon as he hit that third goal, that hat trick, I checked my page, and both of them had sold for $350 each. And so, and luckily, I'm holding a Messi rookie, so that I think even better holds long-term value.
Yeah. So I've been wrestling with this a little bit in regards to football, and I won't go too much into it, but I think what I've come to realize, at least from watching this this last year, in particularly in cards, is the we had that giant goat spike, right, in early 2021.
Yep.
And it's since come, just continually gone downhill. Since that time period, we've seen some turnover, some movement in a lot of the younger generation, the prospecting, the new what ifs, and that's Mbappe. So what I found and what seems to kind of trend together is, if you have the GOATs, if you have a Messi, if you have a LeBron, if you have a Tom Brady who's there at the potential of winning another championship, his prices are going to go up. But on the brink of that, if you have the Joe Burrow, the Mbappe, the Jason Tatum, you're going to see those cards go up as well. And what you'll see almost is like they carry. It's like Mahomes, right? There's so much the 2020 Mahomes hype. When Mahomes started gaining all this value after he won that Super Bowl and started getting compared to Brady, people were like, okay, why are we dumping all this money into Patrick Mahomes? And it's great, but then they realize, okay, well then that means Brady's got to be so much better, right? He's undervalued now because Mahomes is this great player. So the same thing with Messi. Messi's this great player, probably the greatest of all time. Mbappe's on the cusp of another World Cup. We should probably respect Messi. And then Messi goes out and wins it. This is probably the peak of his career from now on. I mean, he's going to do well. But
he's going to go to the MLS, make a bunch of money, and not really play. He's going to be like Ibrahimovic or David Beckham at the end of his career. It's just kind of like that swan song.
Yeah. So I think moving forward, you almost should be rooting for these Mbappes, these Haalands to score and to set these records, because the more that they get that recognition, the more that the people who were before them are going to get the same recognition because they're being put in the same light.
Correct.
So that's going to go across all sports. So you kind of want to root for these young kids to do something to put themselves in that conversation, because then if you're someone who is collecting a long-term asset like you have with the Messi rookie, you kind of want Mbappe to keep being there.
Yeah.
So
do you think that I was talking with Josh about this morning, because he had me try to bid on a couple cards. He had two 101s. One was a super refractor that were pretty low until about the last 2 minutes of the bid. And Josh said something that I thought I agree with, is people are still putting money into soccer cards. Do you think that this little boost will continue to gain momentum as most of these players start going back to their European clubs or their normal clubs? Do you think soccer cards kind of maintain kind of where they are, not super high, like they're not going to continue to climb, but you think they're going to peak off still at a higher level than they were before World Cup?
No, I think what you see now is going to be the peak of what you see for the next 6 months until Champions League finals. And what you'll see is probably some steam with if Holland and Man City make a run as a Champions League and he plays some significant, soccer. You'll see a run there. Same thing with PSG and Messi if he's still on that team, or Mbappe there. But I would say outside of that, you're probably going to see a decline in all soccer. Because if you think about this, is really a Super Bowl, but of 4 years. Like you're not gonna, you probably won't see the same heights that we've seen in the last 2 years until 2024, 25, when people start prepping for the next World Cup.
And by then, there's so many different. There's more stars. There might be another Holland. There might be another. Maybe it's time that Mufoku comes up and it's his time, or a Gavi, or there's so many names of young stars that could be the next big thing. And that's kind of what's tough with collecting soccer cards, unless you're like balls deep in the prospecting and able to sell to the European people. Like you're kind of like you said, it's like an every 4-year type of Super Bowl where you got to get your cards right.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm holding soccer cards right now, and I don't own any right now for this reason, I would sell them all off if I get the opportunity.
Yep.
Just because right now you're going into just a latency period before the Champions League, and it's going to be 6 months before you start seeing something again.
For sure.
I mean, Holland's got to go on continue his pace in Champions League or in a Premier League, but I mean, even then, you're going to see minor compared to what the World Cup and what is done in the past few days, few weeks.
Does prices of Ronaldo's cards fall away with him going to that Saudi league?
I mean, he's not relevant.
True. Got a point. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think this kind of in easier terms to the
he wasn't relevant in menu. He wasn't, even this World Cup, he had his moments, but he was coming off the bench.
Yeah. I think this is where you see like the difference between a Tom Brady and a Peyton Manning and a LeBron, Michael Jordan. That's what you just saw. And I think the Ronaldo's just going to always be number 2 now.
Yep.
So unfortunately, that's the way it is. But I mean, that's where it's kind of like if you're in the investing side of things, then this is your ship sailed. If you just love Ronaldo, you're probably going to be able to find stuff for him cheap, and you can continue to love Ronaldo. I mean, he's going to be one of the greatest players of all time. He's going to have collectability. He's at the forefront of Nike, so he's going to be relevant. It's just he's not going to be Messi.
Yeah. Hold, boys. Just hold. I got rid of my Ronaldo.
Yeah, I mean, enjoy it. Like from my perspective, and I talk about this a lot, is I collect Aaron Donald, but the Rams suck. Aaron Donald's not playing because they don't want to risk him getting injured. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor and the Colts. So at this point, you enjoy what you've collected, and that's okay. It's not always about making money. You can't always make money. Sometimes you just gotta suck it, hold it on. Yeah,
take that loss, move on, move to something else.
Yeah. So,
did you just segue into our next topics?
Not yet.
All right, good. Because I don't want to talk about my terrible Colts.
Well, we could talk about how. Here's a transition for you. I told you to bet on the Colts to beat the Chiefs. And I can't do that in Ohio, but here in 2023, I will be able to.
Sports betting is legal in Ohio.
Yes,
Get ready,
I am.
boys.
I am excited not for the aspect of me gambling away my life savings because that's not what I use it for. I just like it because it's fun. Like I
It
will
is.
bet $1 or 10 cents. They think of it like if you think of it like going to a, a driving range or going to a Dave and Buster's or going out for drinks or going to the bar with your buddies. That's kind of what I see it as. You're not there to make money, you're there to just have fun with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's what I do it for, and
So
I think it's fun just to kind of
here are my rules in betting. So if I'm going to bet for a week, I'll set aside $100 and I will play that $100. I'm not going to bet it all out if I don't have to, but especially I use FanDuel. I'm a big FanDuel guy. Especially when you have same game parlays, and the whole idea of the same game parlay is they really want you to bet the $10. But I'm finding out, you bet $1, $2, $3. What's the difference of you winning 100 and you winning 60? Either way, I'm still positive and I'm not taking that big of a risk. So I'm having more fun and being smarter with my choices and not making these 9, 18 same game parlays, even though I did hit a 7-game, I hit multiple 7 parlays this past weekend. One was picking all the 1:00 games by spread, and the other was the Kansas City game. I had a bunch of over-unders. I did very, very well this weekend. Like my best of all time. Not like Dylan well. Like I'm not pulling in the thousands yet, but I'm pulling in the hundreds, which is nice. And then I made a little money on Aaron Rodgers. I needed Aaron Rodgers to go 200 plus passing, Aaron Jones 50 plus yards rushing, and a Packers win. So got that done. But I'm excited that you and me now can text back and forth sports betting, who we're betting on, and bring that to the podcast, because now like we can go throughout the spectrum on from UFC fights to hockey to basketball and
oh yes,
and how
it's gonna be fun.
How we're moving this, and it just takes, to me, it takes sports to another level because I have a little action on it now. Like
It's like
it
playing
gets,
fantasy football, but you're in on it every day of the week.
yeah, like why do I want to watch a Thursday night game when it's like two terrible teams?
When it's it's the Houston Texans against the the
the Browns or
the Browns, the Browns
whoever, and now you get a little action on it, or try to bet something out, trying to make a same game parlay or something, make a little money. It heightens that. Like the Colts play on Monday night, and I'm going to bet all my money against the Chargers because they're going to murder the Colts.
Yep. Yeah. No, I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to having it, not for the sake of me making money, but for the sake of playing games. And it's something that's like you can like enjoy it with friends too. Like you can, like, normally you would just go to the bar or something, or you like talking sports like me and you. Now I can bet on the games too. Now I can play games. I can go head to head with you in a bet, or I could and that's the fun in it. And I think that makes sports more enjoyable, not necessarily about always making money and getting another 1099 form from the IRS. While the rest of our government officials don't get taxed on all the money that they, from insider trading.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that. It's fun. It's exciting. I'm excited for it.
I will actually be able to
right in time for the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
Which would be great. So.
And you'll be able to help me with my golf bets because my golf bets are terrible.
Yes, golf will be fun. I enjoy doing like the teams, like the captain modes and stuff like that for like the majors, but this will be fun just to ride a long shot into the US Open or something like that. That'll be great. That'll be great. So, speaking of playoffs, we kind of have a more clear picture. Number one, your Colts are out of the playoffs.
Trash.
Number 2, my Rams are out of the playoffs. So
Trash.
defending Super Bowl teams. Defending Super Bowl team is out of the playoffs. No championship for me. We sacrificed our entire lives for last year, and now we pay for it. So
If
your
you would
Colts just suck.
if I would have told you that Baker Mayfield would have been your starting quarterback, would you have believed me?
No. Yeah, because I drafted Stafford in both leagues because I figured, okay, he threw 41 touchdowns. He probably throws 35 again this year.
Well, I only drafted Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall.
I did in my league too. Man, he's killing me right now. So
Rough.
yeah, he is not on my nice list this year. He is not getting a Christmas present. He is not getting anything from me.
So, our season's over. I say pull out all the starters, pull out Q, pull out everybody else, tank, get the draft picks. We need a quarterback. Everybody knows it. Matt Ryan hopefully retires so we don't have to pay him another $25 million next year. The Colts are...
Isn't that still a dead cap hit?
It's a... unless he retires. If he retires, he doesn't get nothing. If he comes
that
back...
doesn't go on the final cap.
No. It's got to be a retirement. So hopefully, his shoulder's banged up or whatever, and he just wants to ride it out in the sunset. But
hopefully he gets encouraged to hang up the cleats.
We have worse problems. I mean, we can't block. We don't have a coach. We don't have an offensive coordinator. We don't have a GM that likes to spend money, and he's drafting dudes who are from Europe who played 4 years of college football and starting left tackles. Like, this offseason is going to be a dumpster fire, and the Colts are raising ticket prices for season ticket holders. So
I don't know how you can justify that after watching that season.
You
expect your product to be better than what it was?
I'm debating if I want to even go to the game on Monday.
Yeah.
Like,
Who do
you just blew
it's Chargers at home?
Yeah, on Monday night. Yeah.
You'll probably be competitive. You'll probably lose, though.
Well,
it'll be close.
We were pretty darn competitive against the Vikings, too. And then with 8 minutes and 39 seconds left.
Wasn't it a 7.5 point spread?
Against the Vikings?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So you covered the spread.
Yeah, we covered.
So
we only blew a 33-point lead to get there, though.
You only blew the largest lead in NFL history, but you covered the spread. So
Quality. Yeah. I did bet a lot on the Vikings parlays, though. So I had myself.
I'm sure a lot of those were overs, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was bad. Rams suck, Colts suck, but we kind of have a clear playoff picture. Did you hear the news about Jalen Hurts?
He's got shoulder issues.
He's got shoulder sprains, AC separation.
So did they say what grade?
No, but is it? I can't remember. Is this throwing shoulder?
Yes.
Well,
Gardner Minshew time.
Yeah.
Does
this hurt his MVP chances now? It's getting to that point in the season.
Yes, it does.
So who's your front runner?
Mahomes.
Over Joe Burrow?
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. They're 1-2. And if it's kind of like, if Jalen doesn't play the last couple games, it's kind of like Tua. You could almost put Tua in that situation if he wasn't knocked unconscious for 3 weeks.
That's true. But he hasn't played well his past 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah. But Mahomes, Joe Burrow, let's see who finishes out the stretch.
Yeah, I think it's really the MVP race is probably going to come down to who gets the 1 or the 2 seed. Although I really don't think Josh Allen deserves it.
No.
He's been way too inconsistent. They've been playing way too close games against not very good competition. I mean, you almost got beat by, a half broken down Mike White at home. Like that's, I again, the Josh Allen hype coming in the season was way too much. And
That's what we said. We said sell Josh Allen before the season.
Yep, sell. And I haven't checked his card price, but I'm pretty sure nothing has gone up since.
I don't think so either, and I'm glad that I've sold.
Yeah, I sold everything off at the beginning of the season. Should I have kept holding my Hurts? Probably, but
who really saw that coming?
No, I didn't. I saw 4-game, I saw 6-game winning streak, but
to see how dominating he's been with AJ Brown and even Miles Sanders, like we didn't expect. Now, will the Eagles turn into the Eagles come playoff time? We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Minshew going to be the new Nick Foles? I don't know. We don't know. Time will tell. From the NFC side, I mean, it's really anybody's game.
It is.
I don't like each week either the top team gets hurt, or like Jalen Hurts is now hurt, and you don't know what he's going to be the rest of the year. Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured. 49ers, you don't know what Brock Purdy's going to do under pressure. No. Come a playoff game, the Cowboys lose to Jacksonville.
Seahawks were hot. Now they're garbage.
Yeah, now they're garbage. The Bucks look like they were going to beat down the Bengals, and then they gave up 30 points straight. It's rough. You don't know, which means, the Lions could sneak in and make a run. I mean, they're on a 4-game win streak. They really don't have to play much else the rest of the year. They play the Packers at home, but the Packers at home week 7 or week 18 may not matter then. So I don't know. It's it up for anybody. I think the AFC though, it's
more dominant. I feel that the NFC is stuck in a situation, and now with Jalen feeling this, it's a lot of backup quarterbacks. It's a lot of good teams or good teams around, but the guy at the helm isn't really that guy. And I heard this, a couple weeks ago. If the Cowboys were smart, they would have stuck with Cooper Rush over Dak Prescott. The reason being is Cooper Rush does exactly what Kellen Moore says. He doesn't deviate from that. You watch Dak, he's running around, he's making, stupid decisions. He's trying to hang on to the ball a lot longer than he should. When Kellen Moore was in there, or not Kellen Moore, when Cooper Rush was in there, check down, not checking off the plays, checking to what the OC says, and just keeping it plain and simple. I mean, their defense is pretty darn unstoppable.
Top 3 defense in the league.
Yeah.
So, I agree. I mean, I agree from that aspect. Dak opens up a lot of your game plan. Mm-hmm. He gives you that added abilities of running the ball, and he can push the ball down the field better than Cooper Rush. I mean, Dak's probably the better quarterback, but the decision making Dak, he costs games, and it's a hard balance because it's the same thing. It's like a Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance type issue. It's you know what I mean? It's that who do you rely on?
Yeah.
So it'll be tough. It'll be tough for them to kind of figure that out, and who knows? I mean, I don't think they'll make a run because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, so they're really good at choking when it matters most, getting on their knees. So we can just basically count them out.
Yep.
And who's still lurking? Probably going to make the playoffs. Tom Brady.
It's tough.
The team is not. The team is good, and when they're firing on all cylinders, it would be the best team. But I don't understand why it hasn't been that way.
This year has been so different. When I think of Tom Brady with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, you think of high-powered, dominant offense. Mike Evans, I don't know what's wrong with him this year. Can't catch, can't run, stops on routes. Leonard Fournette's fumbling the football, not getting yards. Chris Godwin's about the only thing you got going for you in Tampa Bay. And, the interior 7 of their defense is pretty good, but the outside corners are something to be desired. And we had this discussion before the season started that we thought, Tampa Bay was kind of were they going to make the playoffs? Or did we see a giant flop year? I know Dugenais was really, really on the bandwagon of there's no way it's going to be a trash year for Tampa Bay. And I think he's
They're still going to sneak in. They're going to sneak into the playoffs.
It's just because the NFC is just so, they're good for a little bit, or you might get 1 or 2 teams, and then the rest of them are just like hot garbage.
Yeah. I mean, truly, if you think about it, the teams, the best teams are probably all in the AFC, truly. I don't think Philly is as good as, I think if Philly, here's why. I think even with a healthy Hurts, I think Philly probably loses this game at Dallas this weekend. I think Dallas has been pinpointing this game to kind of win this one for a long time. And to that, I think if Philly goes into Minnesota, maybe Philly doesn't win that game. But because they play Minnesota early on in the year and it's at Philly and it's a primetime game, Kirk Cousins doesn't know what to do in primetime, that's what happens. So
I mean, look at Philly that, they almost blew it against the Colts. I mean, the Colts were down 1.
59 yard PI?
Yep.
That's all it was. That's all it was. They had that game won.
Yep.
They had that game won.
They're easily beatable.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's a little bit of a transition. Then, if you were someone who wants to buy cards for the playoffs,
yeah,
which ones are you targeting? And I've thought about this. I recently lost an auction on getting a 101 Donald rookie auto on Golden, so I have more free money now to play. So I'm looking at these 3 specific players, getting some cards, kind of riding it through the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. But yes, Dugenais made a good point. Washington beat Philly at home. I don't know. We'll see. But
who are
your 3?
Oh, who are my 3?
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I talk a lot of smack, and these are in no particular order.
Okay.
I talk a lot of smack about Philly, but if Philly just plays the way they've played the rest of the year against the playoff teams, they probably find themselves in an NFC championship. They probably find themselves in a Super Bowl. Philly's a tough place to play. Plus, with Jalen Hurts being hurt, people are probably kind of steering away from him. Makes it an opportunity to pick up a little extra change before the playoffs. They get the 1 seed. They get the bye. He's got an extra week to heal. They're going to be fine going into that first game. So maybe there's an opportunity in the next 3 to 4 weeks to make a little money. I think there's an opportunity with Jalen Hurts right now. Number 2, and these are quarterbacks. The reason why these are all quarterbacks is because that's the only thing that ever gets bought, seemingly, when it comes to playoff time. So This is why I chose them. Number 2, Joe Burrow. He may not be the most flashy player. He may not be the most athletic player. He may not have the most talented arm, but Joe Burrow showed us last year what he can do, and it's win. The only thing that stopped him was the greatest defensive player of all time on the other side of the ball. So Joe Burrow's got another opportunity this year, and I like Joe Burrow going into the playoffs. So I think that's a good one, a good opportunity, maybe make a little money, kind of ride that in. And then number 3, Patrick Mahomes. I think there's still an opportunity looking at from where his all-time high is. Let's say he wins a second Super Bowl. Let's say he makes another AFC Championship game. You're talking about 4 AFC Championship games in 4 straight years, right? Or is that 5?
That is 4.
4. So 4 AFC Championship games. He'd make 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowls. Correct?
Yep.
So he'd make, or 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. He'd be in 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. He wins one. Now he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He's 26 years old, and he's got a lifetime of a career ahead of him. I think that helps kind of build that same kind of what we talked about earlier, his kind of future, his comparisons to Brady, to Montana, to Manning, to Elway, all those guys. So he kind of tries to put his name in that conversation. So I think there's some margins there with Patrick Mahomes to make some money on that as well.
Just kind of looking at scrolling through the playoff picture real quick. And we'll stick with quarterbacks because, like we said, if we're trying to make a little bit of money, I could veer off path and say, like, Christian McCaffrey with the Niners, or Dalvin or Justin Jefferson, some big play guys, but you're not going to make any money, unfortunately, in the skill position cards. You got to think quarterbacks. So the 3 I will give you is and this is based on ROI. So, buy it if I can sell it for 3%. So they're going to be a little bit more reachy. So I'll say Tua. Reason being is I could probably get it pretty cheap, even though he has some issues. He's not, we've said he would have been in the MVP race if he hadn't been knocked unconscious for those couple weeks. As you pointed out, he hasn't played great at times, but he also hasn't played bad. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek, unstoppable. I think Raheem Moises, is it Moises? Raheem
Mostert.
Raheem Moist, yeah. Him coming over really, I believe, helped too, and really started establishing a running game.
Well, Mike McDaniel had him in San Fran.
Yeah, that's a perfect.
And he had the backup. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He had both of them in San Fran, so that's
so. I think Tua is a smart, cheap pickup to just get a little extra coming in.
I like it.
Another guy I would lean on, and this is just trying to make that quick cash. Lamar. If you can get Lamar going, remember he's on a mission to get paid, so he's got to perform in the big time games. So if you're willing to take a risk on some Lamar stuff, even though he is banged up, but saving him for playoff time, going to come up, get fresh. He wants that ginormous contract. If the Ravens are going to give it to him, somebody will. So, will he play lights out? This is going to be one of the risks that you got to take. Will he play lights out, or will he just falter away? And then the last one I'm going to say, even though it's super hyped, Josh Allen. So you're not going to make a ton, but
no, it's hard.
It's hard. So, the Bills are what number? They're the number 1 seed still.
Go ahead. I'll let you go.
So if they end up in the number 1 seed and all games go through Buffalo and it's snowing 6-7 inches, you think Patrick Mahomes, can sling it through the field, or are you going to put it on Isaac Pacheco's shoulders?
Travis Kelce.
You're going to throw the ball to Travis Kelce in 7 inches of snow.
Yes, they won't expect it.
I mean, I'll bet on it. Like, I'll say he's going to get 75 yards in that game, but
no, I see what you're saying. I mean, they've already moved a game once this year. What's to say they won't move a playoff game, especially when it's a playoff game?
That would be tough to move a playoff game.
Well, I mean, if it's 15 inches of snow, you can't plow the field. You got to move the game.
Yeah. Screw him.
Yeah.
But
Here's the thing which I have with Josh Allen. Yes, you're buying in high. He probably has the biggest ceiling, though, of growth because there's so much hype around him. So
True,
people
but I
want
think,
him to succeed, and the fact that he's not succeeding allows that to have
but
some
we're
growth.
talking short term. You could say Mahomes has an an insurmountable ceiling because you could hold that card for 30, 40 years. I'm talking about I'm going to sell the thing before the Super Bowl.
I think with Mahomes, I think you have an opportunity. Number one, what's Josh Allen won?
I mean, he's only been in the league, what, 5 years?
2018, so he played 2018, 2019, 2019, 20, 2021, 2021, 2022. This is his 5th year.
Yeah.
So 5 years, and he hasn't won a game. That mattered.
You can say the same thing about Lamar. You can say the same thing about, Matt Ryan. You can say the same thing about Jared Goff. You can say
Jared Goff made a Super Bowl. But what happened when he lost that Super Bowl? Immediately tanked. And he never made it back. And that might be the thing with Josh Allen. What happens if he makes a Super Bowl and then never amounts to anything ever again? Then he turns into a Jared Goff. I mean, you could say the same thing about Joe Burrow, and it could be Joe Burrow.
It'd be interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see.
I'm just not a fan of Josh Allen. I think he's overrated. He's a great person. That's great, but sometimes being a great person doesn't mean you're the best. Just ask Michael Jordan.
I mean, it could be worse. At least they traded for Naheem Hines, and we got Frank Gore lookalike third string running back
Zach Moss.
Ugh.
Well, if you would tell your starting running back, Jonathan Taylor, to stop playing like a wussy and getting injured all the time, stop being soft, maybe play for more than himself, maybe you wouldn't have that issue.
I mean, if we didn't have the school of the blind up there blocking for us, look like Brownsburg High School football blocking right there. Just free rushers everywhere.
You may or may not have got your offensive line from the Helen Keller Institute.
Free rushers everywhere, man.
But
free.
Maybe it's not as bad as it seems. Maybe it's just Matt Ryan not calling the right calls, which he knows how to do. He knows how to throw games.
I can't wait for the combine and draft season. Like, I'm so over it. And I know we're going to draft a rookie quarterback, and he's not going to be,
I'm just going to tell you right now, if you draft C.J. Stroud, you might as well just sell your season tickets.
I don't want C.J. Stroud. I don't even want
We talked about this.
I don't even want now that I look more into it, I don't want the Will kid from Kentucky.
You know who you want? You want next year's draft, and you want Caleb Williams.
Yeah, so we need to suck for another year.
Yeah.
Trade all of our
Caleb
picks this
Williams.
Year. Yeah.
Man, that dude is if he wouldn't have torn his hamstring, he's been something else.
Then I want Marvin Harrison Jr.
You can have both.
Oh, so good. So good.
You can have both. All right. Well, believe it or not, there are more sports than football and football.
Are you following any of them?
Hockey. That's the only one I follow.
Oh, okay.
The Avalanche have 11 players on IR right now, so we're struggling, but we're still in the playoff picture, which is okay right now. As for basketball goes, the Lakers suck, so therefore basketball sucks.
So therefore basketball sucks. Zion hit an amazing. Was it last night that dunk?
Maybe. I will say this: Shy SGA is playing out of his mind. The problem is they're still not in the playoff picture. And Zion somehow has gotten that New Orleans team to be like the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, which is gross because it's like New Orleans. And Zion is like my literal alter ego. He's like me, just painted chocolate colored.
Just chocolate faced and buff.
Yes. Me, if I put down the Oreos, that's what Zion is.
Yeah.
Why does
it feel like basketball has just been like third, fourth place in sports this year.
It's not as interesting. I feel like football is always just carrying. Football carries, football carries, football carries, which is rightfully so. I mean, it's the most popular sport in America.
Yeah.
And basketball just drags on because they play 12 games a week and no one cares. So it
No,
is
I
what it
get it.
is.
I
I'm
get
glad we
it.
can cross that one off the list because I'm done talking about basketball. All right. So what we've noticed in the community is move this out of the way. What we've noticed is a lot of auction housing having, auctions ending on a Thursday, and then one auction house ends on a Friday, and then another one ends on Saturday and Sunday, and then the next week someone has one again that ends on a Wednesday. Are we seeing a decline in the market because there's so much stuff being just auctioned off every week? Is that
Um,
why? Is that why we're seeing this? Because nobody's collecting it. Everybody just wants to flip.
Flip it. No, I think so, and especially with the amount of auction houses, especially for the big time hitter cards, um, you're taking, Jordan Fleers that were selling for 800,000, and now I'm sure that there's even more in the population, and everyone's trying to send them to an auction house to sell. So the price is starting to go down because you're just getting more in the circulation. And we've talked about this a bunch, is nobody wants to pay prices anymore. Everybody wants to undercut somebody else
Yeah,
to
and
get a
flip it.
better deal. Like, and that's what drives the market. Like, hey, I don't mind, negotiating a deal, but you're not going to chop 60% off my legs. And I think that's a lot of the stuff of what we're seeing in this market is people aren't willing to deal. They want bargain bidding prices.
Yeah, it's turned into a flipping market. The hobby itself has turned into a marketplace of how can I make money off someone else rather than
Well,
collecting
it's turned
and
into a
truly
flea
find.
market. It's a
Yes, it
flea
has.
market drive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so seriously, I haven't bought, but besides those boxes of soccer that I texted you and Josh, I haven't bought cards. I'd think in 6 months because the prices are just like, they're ridiculous in one aspect, and I don't feel comfortable, asking 50% off. Like, if I really, really want something, I'll pay for it. But, and the other part is, cards are not, they're all over the place.
Yeah. It's I mean, you can it's there's definitely an opportunity for flippers, investors and whatnot to make money off people and to make money in this hobby. Um, because they can buy at 70% and then they can go to this auction house and sell for 100% of what the comps are, or they can buy it at 80% and then flip it at a show for 10%. And there's definitely some motivation in being able to do that stuff and transact that way. But at the end of the day, the cards eventually have to fall into the hands of collectors, people who want to hold those. And I think it's just cards are just getting shuffled around so much. Eventually, it'll find its bottom, and it's the market's just going to keep dropping down until it finds its bottom, and the bottom will be when they're in the hands of the collectors. They're in the hands of the people who want to hold on to those. And I just don't. I don't. We'll see it a little bit of a bump in football, but after football, you're not going to see much after that. It's probably going to die a little bit down and until maybe April, and then pick back up again,
Yep.
like it did last year. So, I mean, I'm just guessing based upon the way markets have moved over the past few years, but it's just the way the market, it's the way the place, and it happened in shoes, and now it's happening here, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means for the market. I think I don't know. Maybe it might be something we'll have to talk about on a future episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's killing cards. Auction houses are just killing cards, and it's I don't know.
Do you think the flea market style selling is hurting the card's actual value?
I mean, yeah. I mean, just based because the only thing people ever see is, oh well, here's the comp. I'm not willing to pay the comp, so I'm going to buy it for you at 80%. And someone's not willing to. The person who's selling it is not willing to take or not willing to hold on to the card because they're not a collector anymore. So if someone's not willing to sit on a card for a year, then they're just going to sell the card and either cut their losses or they're going to sell the card and because they made 3% on someone, Eventually the card hits its bottom where it's just, this is what it's too low, and I don't know if we've hit that point in the market where cards are, their value is it's probably still overinflated, to be honest.
Really?
So I think there's a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before it bottoms out, but where it bottoms out at, I'm not sure. I mean, if there's so much saturation of this market now, where it's like you don't see, for every one person that I see, I want to buy something, I'm looking for a specific card, there's 50 posts of people selling a card, trying to get top dollar, or trying to buy something at 70% off.
Yep.
So it's just it's how the market is right now. So
is this and we've talked about this in the past, is this the same, I don't know if it's the same trend, but is it the same future as the shoe market was?
I think there's a little bit more structure than the shoe market was. But I think a lot of those people have come over, and then those people are maybe transacting back into the shoe market. I mean, you got Rolex people coming in now to the market.
Rolex is starting to get hot.
Yeah, and part of it maybe is just people just they constantly just hop from hype train to hype train to hype train, and it hurts cards because it's.
I hope it hurts cards to where hobby boxes are $100 again.
Yeah, there's just there's nobody truly is caring about the value of the card from a other than a monetary standpoint. People are just caring about a card for its its true intrinsic, lovable value of holding something that you love as a Donald collector, a Chris Jones collector, a Cincinnati Bengals collector, whatever. I'm only holding this card because I want to make money. And we talk about that on our podcast a lot about, well, these are the guys I'm buying to make money. And maybe we contribute to that a little bit as well. But I guess there's more motive. There's more motive in maybe what we're doing from the aspect of we do it so that way we can collect other things.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see around the hobby is like, there's so many influencers who don't collect anything. The only thing they collect, what is that thing you sent me, the meme that you sent me? What do you collect? I collect money. I collect profit. And it's like, that's great, but like everybody got into the hobby and everybody's in cards, or what was originally rooted on was what you wanted, what you valued in the cards, the people you valued, not the value of the money, not the monetary value of the card.
Yeah, it's been, from when cards started getting hyped again to where it is now, it's been a complete, peak and valley. And I think at this point right now, we're in one of those valleys, and we're trying to figure out, there's more card shows than there ever have been. There's more, so many things around cards and YouTube channels and influencers and this and that. And, navigating the bullshit is one of the hardest things to do. because when you're influencing, what are you trying to do? You're trying to sell hype. You're trying to sell things that you own. You know, Jeff Wilson's the king of that. The sports card investor. You know, he tries to make predictions, which, you know, we don't make predictions. We kind of like give our thoughts, feelings, and opinions. But he's like, you know, when he bought all that Select and thought Select was going to be the next Prism and spent $500,000 in that, and then went dumped, and then Will
And then
Greer's
Select overproduced everything, and then now it's worth
yeah,
nothing.
Will Greer's a better investment than Kyler Murray, and you know, just selling hype trains. And I think Gary Vee is the same way. And you know, there's so many Gary Vee nut riders. That dude, because he's the prime example of bouncing from hot thing to hot thing to hot thing. Cards, NFTs, I don't know what he's in now. And then he'll like dabble coming back to cards when he's got stuff to sell to like try to get him hyped again.
Yep.
It's like, dude, like
Michael Jordan, LeBron.
Michael Jordan, like I'm, you know, like what the card you sent me, the Tyson UK.
Yeah.
Like that's a dope card that I'm not going to sell. It's like the Roy Jones Jr. sent me, like, you know, stuff like that I care about collecting, not care about, you know, making the money or the value out of it. It's something I can look back on and pass on to Wesley and be like, hey, you know, I had these are pretty cool.
Yeah. You can show Mike Tyson biting off people's ears.
Oh, absolutely.
You can whip out the old Roy Jones Jr. CDs that you used to have in your car. That we used to listen to weightlifting every day.
Oh God, yeah. Good days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's there's got to be more to it than just the monetary value of cards. It's got to have some intrinsic value. So
no, I agree.
Well, wrap up 2023 talk. It's in a week and a half. And we can start talking about gambling. But maybe we'll talk about top 3 things, top 3 cards, memorabilia, sports that we acquired over the year.
Okay.
And then maybe top 3 things we're looking at acquiring in 2023.
I think
And then we'll
good.
talk about the Fanatics news and what maybe that changes to the marketplace.
Yeah.
How things are.
Yeah, let's try to get a guest on like Josh, or see if any of the boys are doing anything.
Yeah, see if Justin, Alex wants to hop on.
So once again, we appreciate everybody for tuning into the podcast. Thank you for all the downloads we get every time we do this. Our sponsors, myslabs.com. Best place on the marketplace to sell your stuff. They're now taking Stripe and PayPal. So good place if you want to get off eBay, go to MySlabs. Slab savers, always protecting our slabs, especially in your high-end investments. Got to get a hard case or anything to keep your PSA graded stuff. You know, go to myslabs.com or protectyourslabs.com to get your stuff. Nation Golf, gotta love those guys. You know, thank you to those guys for everything they do. Great golf wear. Neil's got his Nation Golf shirt now. I got 2 more from Adam coming. So I will forever rock and support Nation Golf and Graded Card Solutions. So when I sold both of those Mbappes this past week, definitely put them in a Graded Card Solutions box and shipped them out the right way, because that's how you should do it when you're taking care of your cards. Once again, thank you for everybody who tunes in on the Facebook page. We're always live on YouTube, and you can always go back and watch the live broadcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can download us and listen to us, interact with us on Instagram at Doughboy Sports Cards 1, at Showtime Sports Cards 1. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all later.